Hi guys! So today I'm going to be going over another political ideology. Today it's going to be socialism. This is in line with AQA A-Level Politics Paper 3 and their content, but obviously there is some crossover with other examples, but I do AQA, hence why I'm naming AQA, but this could help anyone. So, points for discussion today. We've got the key thinkers of socialism, views on the state, human nature, society and the economy, and then a little overview at the end. So, the key thinkers. The first key thinker is actually two people, that's Marx and Engels, because they worked largely collaboratively throughout their time. So, they lived in the 19th century. They believed in two social classes, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, so an upper class and a working class, no middle class. They wrote the infamous Communist Manifesto in 1848. You've got nothing to lose but your chains. Very, very famous. Marx is known as the father of modern socialism, despite those who came before him, but they're not named on the spec. And then there's an idea of dialectical materialism that comes with Marx and Engels as well, which is defined just beneath. So, Rosa Luxemburg lived from 1871 to 1919. So, when you're looking at these key thinkers, I haven't said this before, but look at the time period in which they lived and they thought, because you can gain some social and historical context from when they were doing their work. So, for example, with Rosa Luxemburg founding an anti-war newspaper called The Red Flag to highlight and raise awareness of exploitation under capitalism. During her lifetime, she would have lived through World War One, so that's significant because it links to, it gives reasoning to why she was doing what she was doing. She was an advocate for immediate construction of a new democracy, so this is very Marxist in its revolutionary kind of style of socialism, and she was also pro-common ownership. Beatrice Webb is the third thinker. She lived from 1858 to 1943. Founding member of the Fabian Society, a left-wing group very heavily intertwined with the Labour Party that aspired for slow change to socialist principles as opposed to revolutionary socialism with bloodshed. So this just shows a development, a slow evolution instead of revolution to socialism. This is very different to the ideas of Marx and Luxemburg. With her husband Sidney Webb, she wrote the original Clause 4 of the Labour Party's constitution. Obviously, Clause 4 is infamous throughout Paper 1. We'll come back to this in a second and see how we can make them synoptic links. Clause 4 established common ownership of means of production, distribution and exchange, so she therefore endorsed nationalisation of industry. So Anthony Crosland is the fourth thinker. He lived from 1918 to 1977. Believed in achieving socialism through humanising the capitalist system. So this is a very stark contrast to the ideas of Marx, because instead of complete revolution and reform, this is revising socialism. This is looking at socialism from a different perspective and allowing it to collaborate with the ideas of capitalism to make it more realistic and more applicable. So this is moderate within socialism. This is not far left socialism like the ideas of Marx. Idealised practical achievement over theoretical abstractions, therefore making him a realist. And he was a member of the Fabian Society that obviously we know Beatrice Webb and Sidney Webb were founding members of. And he had a belief in socialism needing to adapt to social circumstance. As I just said, this is making it more applicable to the modern day. His most prolific work would probably be The Future of Socialism, which he published in 1956. Anthony Giddens is the final key thinker for socialism. He was born in 1938 and he's still alive. He's a prevalent sociologist. He's a prominent thinker in the Third Way, which was implemented by Tony Blair's Labour government in 1997. Again, a link to Paper 1. This is the synoptic link that you can use to get above those level 4 answers in Paper 3. So he was given a peerage for his service. He restructured the welfare state to be a hand up, not a hand out, and believed that those who claim benefits must be actively trying to escape poverty. Again, this is a very different way of looking at socialism and how it works with a welfare state. So now let's go through these key thinkers and their views on the state, human nature and society and the economy. But I've structured it in the form of a 9 marker as I have done previously if you've seen my other videos. So for the state, I did Marx and Engels, Webb and Giddens. So I've done this As you can see in the brackets, I've named the different types of socialists which these thinkers were. This just shows that you can either do it through naming, like, thinkers, or you can do it from naming the types of socialists they were. It doesn't really matter, just you need to know the names of the key thinkers, obviously. But don't be afraid to reference them as revolutionary socialists, democratic socialists, or third way socialists, because there's lots of different types of socialists within the socialism ideology. So Marx and Engels obviously advocated for the existing liberal bourgeois state to be overthrown by revolution. That is a key part of revolutionary socialism. They want complete overthrow. They want complete restart with a new socialist state to replace this. Prevailing mentality is that the state would always be defined by economics, and there was a belief that the state alongside socialism was impossible. Point 2, with Webb, she believed that the existing state could be used to further the aims of socialism. So this is already a contrast between two different thinkers, and it just shows like a revised look at socialism, like almost seeing more realistically that there won't be a complete revolt. So poverty and inequality were most likely to be eliminated through vigorous trade unionism and extensive state intervention. So this is the idea of a very large state. And this is also linking back to her idea that the change needs to be gradual, alike Anthony Crossland. So point 3 is Anthony Giddens, a third way socialist. He advocated for an even smaller state than evolutionary socialists. Anthony Giddens' idealised state would have been the one exemplified by the Labour governments between 1997 and 2010, so Tony Blair, Gordon Brown. He believed in right-wing economics but left-wing social policies and rejected Clause 4. This is just more proof that this is a diluted version of traditional socialist ideas, because obviously common ownership has been in there since the start and he's rejecting that completely. Human nature. So point 1, I've done Marx and Engels. They're very, very positive view of human nature, with the idea of a perfected human nature being accessible once we've escaped capitalism. The whole Marxist theory is based on how we cannot live in self-managing communities without positive nature. So there's a massive emphasis on how this is a necessity and how it's also possible. Point 2, I've done Anthony Crossland with an innate sense of fairness and doesn't believe that we are perfectible, but we do have solidarity with fellow man. So there are common interests that bind humans together. This ties in with his ideas of the welfare state. Not perfect, but good, so we can have kinder capitalism. So this just shows the ideas, similar to Webb, of using this changed idea of socialism, this gentler form of socialism, to work with capitalism to achieve socialist goals. Point 3, we've got Giddens. Although human nature is shaped by capitalism and agreement, that there is a sense of fairness and community, but Giddens also acknowledges how humans are also very individualistic. This shows socialist roots in the connection to fairness and community, but is more reflexive of the individualistic times that we live in. So, fending for oneself. Society. So, point 1, I've done Marx. That should be Marx and Engels. Capitalism defines the society we live in as it causes class conflict. Claims society had a huge impact on human condition and function within communities. And there's this, again, overarching argument that capitalism needs to be overthrown for a perfected society, a perfected state, a perfected human nature, etc., etc. That is Marx's overarching argument. 2 is Webb. Current capitalist situation, society is competitive and detrimental to human nature. This is because the capitalist society fosters competition and conflict. Linked to the ideas of Crossland, existence of a much more complicated system, but there is no need for revolution. So this is again showing that gradual change to the ideas of socialism and the way in which it should be applied. A meritocracy might emerge under socialist democracy via taxation and redistribution of wealth, though, so there is acknowledgement that there will still be like a social hierarchy, so to speak. Giddens said that society has changed much since Marx. He wrote in the 1990s, which was a time of much more individualistic and more global like ideas. And there was also the emergence of a middle class, which didn't exist under Marx. Marx viewed it as two social classes, as we covered at the start of the video. So society needs to accept our individual nature, again linking to his ideas of human nature, with close-knitted communities of mining and stuff being eliminated through the decline in the mining industry by the 1990s. So communities developed outside of the workplace. This is an evolved form of society. This is people finding community in different places. This is what Giddens is arguing. Then there's the economy. Again, that should be Marx and Engels. Capitalism will be inevitably overthrown, seen as a system of oppression. Marx saw this as inevitable, as he had a view of historical change where he claimed that all economic systems with an oppressor and the oppressed all are overthrown eventually. He saw the economy as contaminating human nature and causing alienation. Point 2, I'd use Crossland, saying that he didn't see capitalism as being replaced by socialism, but was still critical of unregulated capitalism, so agreed with Keynes's ideas of a mixed economy. He redefined socialism's economics, not needing a socialist economic system and instead adapting to the capitalist one to work with socialist ideas. Then point 3, got Giddens, who said that capitalism can produce wealth needed to fund infrastructure, and he wanted less regulations and said nationalisation was outdated. This is exemplified in his clause 4 rejection. He also discussed issues of community and minimum wage. The real change in socialist thinking towards the economy was shown through Giddens, with an acceptance of the inevitability of global capitalism. This is him being adapted to the times. This is revised socialism. So, an overview of what I've gone over today in today's video. Basically, I've gone through the key thinkers and I've gone through their ideas, and then I've gone through their views on the 4 key things that you need to know about. However, as exemplified in last year's 9 marker, I think it was, on socialism, the question was on class. It wasn't necessarily on human nature, society, the state, or the economy. There are more niches within socialism that you need to know about, and there's more within each one. I'm just covering the basics. So if you want a video on the other things within socialism, I'm happy to do it, but I'm just trying to cover the basics right now because my exam's tomorrow. Thank you for watching. Please leave any questions in the comments, and good luck in your exams.